so hard to be strong and healthy, and I can't believe this happened to me.
I have fibromyalgia, and I've had it for 15 years now, diagnosed for 15 years.
I have been suffering from insomnia since July, and that's, to me, almost worse than, I'm finding it almost worse than the chemotherapy, because I thought with the chemotherapy I'd have an end date, but the insomnia has just made it almost worse than the chemo for me.
If a client comes to me and says, on a scale of 1 to 10, my life is a 3, my next question is, why so high? And they say, what do you mean? I say, well, why isn't it a 2 or a 1? And they go, well, yeah, I guess it's not a 1. Well, my son's really a great kid, and I'm having a good time with him, and my mother's been supporting me through the divorce, and I go, great, so what would it take to move it to a 4 for you?
I've tried lots of things, but each time I had surgery done, it seemed like, oh, you got a 40–60% chance, you know, 60% chance of being better. I was always in the 40%, you know. Oh, God. Emotion. The pain of her loss. It's very hard. I lost a woman that I love so much. I lost a very beautiful woman. The accident took place about 5 minutes from the bridge, and that's where Raquel's life ended. Just dealing with the pain. Every day, it doesn't stop, on and on, it doesn't turn off.
I'm trying to find something positive in each day because there's just so much of that fear-driven, unknown, what lies ahead.
We're seeing that there are some direct influences on the body's physical health that's directly related to the link between our emotional body, our energetic body, our physical body, our spiritual body, you know, just the holistic aspects of who we are.
Joy doesn't cause block. It's anger, guilt, anxiety, and depression that cause blocks.
If someone can be traumatized in 30 seconds, why can't they be healed in a day, an hour, a minute?
We're just beginning to take a look at who we are.
If I can stand up in front of a room and especially like talk to a group of people and not feel nervous, you know, number one, the message is going to come through better. I'm going to be way more effective. I'll be able to communicate my message better. I mean, but it just brings a whole new element into what I'm capable of doing.
Each of us is, you know, has the potential to be extraordinary, to be brilliant, to do anything we want to do.
We have to start from that belief and change these beliefs of who we are. We are profoundly powerful people.
People drive by and shout, hang in there, sweetheart, you know, L4 to, you know, they'd shout out their spinal injuries. It really hurts, it feels heavy. I feel like I've got a 50-pound backpack on, or that my hardware is coming out. Like I almost want to say to people, is that hanging out back there? I don't think it's real positive for me to think accident, accident, accident all the time. It happened and I can't change that. I wish it hadn't happened, but it did. I would rather focus on how I'm able to get stronger.
I've been suffering from a health challenge for quite some time. I feel like a 500-pound anvil in my head weighing it down. Feels like my whole head's gonna explode. Feels like there's a fire inside of my head.
I'm not able, just through diet and a little bit of exercise, to make any difference.
Every day I'm dealing with the past, so how am I to look at the future?
I love my life, I love where I live, I love everything that I do. But if I quit smoking within 3 or 4 days, I don't like anything I do. It's like my buddy, it's like my pal, you know, it's like a friend that's killing me.
Because we've been so programmed to devalue ourselves and disempower ourselves, that we look at ourselves as victims and frail biological entities, you know, ripe for bacteria to eat us up and all these other things. It's like, this is totally untrue.
When there's pain in the body, that's a signal that something is not in harmony with the laws of the universe, which God's laws. I see the laws, God's modus operandi. And when there's discomfort in the body, we're violating the law. It's telling us we're doing something wrong. I don't care whether it's thought or movement or what it is. And we've got to shift the energy. And as we shift the energy, the pain will leave.
Every person I meet is like waiting to unwrap a package. Wow, who's in there? and watch them come alive as they realign with who they really are, and you watch their eyes light up and they get excited.
All I know is that there is a technique that's going to help me get better. I was looking on it on the net, and something about tapping. Tapping. I saw people doing this. I don't know what else. I was looking at people doing this and this. I was like, and this. And I was like, what is that?
If everything else fails, try this, you know. Oh! My back is a big problem for me.
I think it's exciting that I'm going to have this opportunity. It's really unique.
When everything is said and done, I want to look back and be able to know that I tried absolutely everything. I did everything I could.
I don't know what to expect. I'm very excited about going.
What I often say is, okay, you know what? I have this little technique that I think might really be helpful here. Now, it might seem a little strange, but if you're willing to play along and work with me, let's just give it a try and see what happens.
It is a tool that allows you to release what's blocking the powers of healing.
If there's an emotional trauma, something happens, something I watch on CNN, something that happens to a friend of mine, something that happens to me, there is an energetic disruption that occurs. And what we do is we bring some soothing to that.
You bring a problem to mind, a trauma, for example, and you tap on your body like this.
And we do that while tapping into a particular emotional state, a feeling in the body, and by doing that, we're soothing it.
When I first learned that he was talking about tapping on different points on your body, I think I was skeptical, but I was also desperate.
If I can start to open up and release some of these feelings that I've had in the past and clear away some experiences that are no longer relevant.
There's no way I can't change. I'm just gonna get better. I have to. There's no possible way.
God, I just have so much, you know, that I need to work on to kind of save my life.
I think it was Thomas Edison who said, if we did everything we could that we were capable of, we would literally astound ourselves.
The problem is we've been trained out of that, you know, by our conditioning, by schools, by the television.
So I think we've got to take a look at who we are and what we've got and how we function, and then begin to apply this information in a practical manner to improve the quality of our life, because life is meant to be enjoyed.
In 4 days, where we're going to be in a room there's 10 of us, including myself.
I come and I go, ebb and I flow, wherever life takes me, 'cause I don't really know if I'm awake in a dream, if it's quite what it seems, or whether I'll see you in the next scene.
If you could live your life over, what would you wish hadn't happened? What would you remove?
What have you been thinking on the way over?
Oh man, what haven't I been thinking? You know, and just try to get my life back, you know, where it once was. It'll never be the same way, but you know, just find a way out of this pain.
We're going to be with people who are going to be helping us work through whatever the issues are.
Clear a space in your soul, prepared to let go. Been staring at illusions now for far too long.
It feels like it's time. I mean, I've been going through this craziness for years, you know, 7+ years. So I'm really excited for the outcome, to find my life, find good health.
I'm Dennis.
All right, you a roommate?
Yeah, I guess so.
Good man. I'm Sam.
Sam?
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
This is what you're here for. And it's time to get rid of what I call slow incremental growth and just make a quantum leap into the full expression of the brilliance of who you are. And everybody has that capacity.
I come and I go, ebb and I flow, wherever life takes me. 'cause I don't really know.
There's going to be 3 sessions going on at most times. One will be up here, and there'll be a practitioner and someone working, and then a couple people watching. There'll be another one in a room that's being filmed, and there's a third one that's not being filmed. In terms of what we're doing, every day, imagine downloading 100 units of power or $100 that come into your energetic bank account. And you have something happen when you're 10 years old and it upsets you and you have anger towards it. And you take $2 and you pay that there. But the problem is that you don't just pay that there once, you pay it every day. Right? So $2 we can do, $98 gets you through the day. But what happens is now you have age 15, $3 here, 2 days ago, $1 here, and you end up either bankrupt or in debt. And what I like to visualize is bringing that power back. So it's going to be, I'd like my $2 back from that anger, we're done with that transaction, and now I've got it back in myself.
Where is your energy going? It's going where you focus. So if you're focused on the fight that you had last week, or you're focused on the meeting with your boss next week, that's where your energy is draining out of your body.
When we get scared, or when we have a trauma, small trauma or a large trauma, often there are blocks that get created in the pathways of that energy system.
It's just the energy slows down and feels heavy, and it contradicts our core true self and the natural frequency we're meant to be at, which are at those higher levels.
Energy is supposed to flow through us as a waveform. You know, it just comes in. The word emotion, energy in motion. And so we say we're emotionally moved by something. So when I allow myself to be moved and feel what it is and let it pass through me, then there's no blockages.
As a massage therapist, I remember touching a woman's hip and she vividly remembering almost running off a cliff. Now this memory had been stored in her hip since she was 18, in about 20 years. And she had blocked it, and yet she had had constant hip problems. That hip, that whole side of her body, in fact, she'd always viewed as the weak side, the side that wasn't working as well as the other. Now, when this memory was released, the energy of it was released from that side of her body balanced out.
There is this circuitry in the body through which electricity and energy travels and connects all our organs.
Now, it's similar to when you walk into a house. We've got electrical switches now that are activated by clapping your hands, or you can flip a switch. And when we do that, all the lights go on. But we don't think anything of that. We expect that to happen. There's an electrical system in the house. That's the way the house is wired. It's an electrical system in the body that's more intricate than anything in a house. The electrical system in the body would make the electrical system in a supercomputer look like an absolute toy, and we really don't understand much about it.
This becomes relevant. It says, okay, here's the physical particles of my body. Why are they in a healthy state, or why could they be in a sick state? That's the physical expression. And the answer is, well, to understand that, don't look at the body. You have to understand the invisible forces in the field.
I tell people that it's like gridlock in New York City. You can't get down Fifth Avenue, you can't get up 6th Avenue, you can't get across 23rd Street if you've got blockages in these circuits and in these pathways. So we have to clean out the congestion and the traffic in order for everything to be moving cleanly.
What happens when I tap at some point on my body, especially one of those points of low resistance, is that a very small electrical charge travels through my connective tissue and my muscles to other points in my body.
We use these points in a very methodical, intentional way. So the Chinese have been using them how? Well, they apply pressure, acupressure. They apply needles, acupuncture, along these different points.
So any physical pressure creates an electrical current. And I think that's what we're doing, is we are exciting the electrical system, and the nervous system, of course, is electrical. So tapping just initiates an electrical current.
So let's go through the points real quickly so that you know what points we're talking about. We start with the karate chop point. Okay, it's along the side of the hand. And use your fingertips and just tap on the side of your hand like that. We will start here and do a lot of tapping here while we make certain statements, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. During the dark moments of your day, what might you say about your immune system?
It's failing me.
It's failing me. So what we would say is, even though my immune system is failing me right now, I deeply and completely accept myself. And we state that 3 times. Now, you would then start tapping on these other points, and we use what's called a reminder phrase. My immune system and all the ways that it fails me. I'm just coming up with something, right? My immune system and all the ways that it fails me. My immune system and all the ways that it fails me. My immune system and all the ways that it fails me. Now, when you're tapping, if you were to imagine drumming on a table and making a noise, that's about how much pressure you want to use, so that you're really connecting with the bone underneath the tissue. And you don't have to. Some people really tap hard thinking that's going to do a big difference. That it doesn't make that much difference. Really intense tapping, right? That's not necessary. Some people tap in a circle. Some people will pat their head, right? You just gently tap the top of the head. Now, it's just about the center of your head. So the eyebrow point is at the beginning of your eyebrow. Right. And it's on both sides. So sometimes you can tap both hands, one hand. You can cross over, doesn't really matter. Sometimes I feel like I want a little more stimulation and I'll use both hands. So the next point is along the side of the eye. Now it's not so close that it makes you blink and not so far back that you feel like you're on your temple. It's really on the bone right here, okay? Everybody got that? Under the eye point, it's a little sensitive. So you don't want to bang on it real hard, but it's right directly below the pupil, and just tap gently there. Under the nose. Now, I curl my lip down a little bit when I tap under the nose, because I want to be able to make it a little firmer. It's not necessary. You all right? It tickles? Okay, so try a little firmer. A little firmer. Okay. Chin. It's not actually down in the chin. They call it the chin point. It's in the crease here, okay? And just tap there. Now the collarbone point, the collarbone itself, you have it on both sides, right? It's where the whole shoulder attaches to your body. So find that bone on both sides, and then come down about 1 inch into the soft tissue, right there. These are the under the arm points. Now, the underarm points is not way up in the armpit. It's about mid-bra line for women, about a hand width. If you start feeling very emotional about anything that comes up, just start tapping. And then you're going to notice every once in a while, you can stop, take a look at where your intensity is on that, and notice that it will shift.
If on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no feeling whatsoever, and 10 being the highest level of distress, where would you put your level of distress? So it's just a way of telling whether or not a change has occurred. We bring the issue to mind, we give it a number, you go ahead and do the tapping, and then you check the number again. That guides you to know, is it working or is there something in the way?
What we want to do is scale the intensity or the charge you have on this issue. So let's say someone hurt you very badly and you're mad at an ex-spouse. When you think of him or her, how much? 0 to 10, 10 is the highest. And the reason you want that is because you want to measure after doing the tapping if it's gone down. You want to have a pre-measurement and a post-measurement. Otherwise it's very hard. People say, oh, it doesn't bother me anymore. And they're not really paying attention to how much better they feel.
And we may ask you things like, well, what does that feeling remind you of? Some of them are obvious. If you were in a car accident, clearly that's something that was a big trauma. But some of the things would be like, oh, this can't be it. Those are magical words for us. This doesn't make any sense. Magical words for us. This couldn't be it, because it's a doorway into the body's energy system, into the feeling of it. A lot of people get stuck just getting started. So what I suggest that they do is pick a pain in your body. Pick some place that you have tension. I'm going to be working primarily with Jody, but each of you, by tapping and stimulating your system, you'll notice that the things that come up for her may not always be applicable to you, but you'll be surprised at how much of the human experience we all have in common.
With fibromyalgia, your muscles are always tense. You never really fully relax, so that would be nice. It's an autoimmune illness because, it's literally you're attacking yourself. So that's what I do. It can get really bad, but the most difficulties I have are generally in my wrists, and that's probably because I type a lot, and in my knees. And I used to walk a whole lot. Every day I would go for about an hour walk, and I loved it. But I just can't do it anymore. So it's frustrating to me because I really like to be outside and I love to walk. So I don't like that. I want to get back to where I can go outside again and walk around.
For each of you, find some part of your body that's feeling some physical discomfort. You got it? Write it down, if you would. And then just ask yourself, if there was an emotion in this part of my body, what might it be?
There's an emotional connection with about 85% of all physical illnesses. So I think that's people know that. What they don't fully understand is that the solution for that isn't necessarily a drug.
If you were to get really angry at your knee, do you ever get angry at your knees? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what do you say to him?
What do I say?
Yeah.
I say, how dare you betray me?
Ah, great job. See how we're using just whatever words are coming up? Even though my knees have betrayed me.
Even though my knees have betrayed me.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Sometimes people have a conflict with saying they accept their behavior. They say, I don't want to say I accept myself. Accepting yourself does not make you get stuck.
I find this one statement alone to be one of the most powerful in cleansing and clearing. And a lot of it has to do with just being willing to love yourself no matter what's going on in this moment.
I remember working with a colleague of mine, a mother of 3 small girls. We were traveling together and we were having dinner one night, and she was sharing with me that she smoked cigarettes and that she was really embarrassed that she smoked cigarettes. And she also really felt horrible being a mother of 3 small girls and smoking cigarettes. And so I told her that, if she wanted, I would teach her the technique to help her possibly quit smoking. I'd never used it for smoking before, but I figured, what the heck, I use it for everything. And I started to treat her, and just using the setup phrase, I said to her, I want you to start with, even though I smoke, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Even though I'm a mom and I smoke, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Even though I'm smoking and it sets a bad example for my children, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. And she burst into tears. And I could see really clearly, it was almost like I could see her block. I knew that the self-loathing she felt about smoking, the way that she beat herself up about smoking, was the actual thing that locked it in place.
Even though I'm not going to accept my knees.
I'm not going to accept my knees.
They have betrayed me.
They have betrayed me.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
And all of my attitudes.
And all of my attitudes.
Even though I'm perfectly right to feel this way.
Even though I don't feel I can do this, or you acknowledge that.
What's happening is here, first of all, I focused on the problem. And I think just knowing what the problem is, admitting it, getting the secret out, getting it out of myself is a very therapeutic thing to do. Actually, it was Freud, I'll have to paraphrase him, who said the way to healing is to have no secrets.
Even though he was gross.
Even though he was gross.
And I'm really angry.
And I'm really angry.
How could he do this to me?
How could he do this to me?
Even though.
Mom didn't want me.
Mom didn't want me.
She didn't seem to want any of us.
She didn't seem to want any of us.
And she would even verbalize this.
She would even verbalize this.
Even though, I'm fighting myself. I'm fighting myself.
So you stated in present tense, and then in as much specific detail as possible, with as much emotion and passion and enthusiasm and vivid mental imagery, with as many other sensory inputs as you can, sounds and sights and smells.
Acknowledging your own emotional experience is powerful. Being able to say, I am feeling this way. This is the emotion.
I deeply and completely accept myself. And we state that 3 times. Even though my immune system is failing me right now, I deeply and completely accept myself.
I think the statement that even though I have this fill-in-the-blank problem, I deeply love, accept, and forgive myself while tapping right here is the single most powerful thing you can do, in my opinion, when it comes to tapping.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
I don't have to believe it.
I don't have to believe
Because
it.
now I'm in control.
The reality is, it's the inability to accept yourself with whatever fault you perceive that you have that's preventing you from moving forward. And I usually tell people, you know, you'll figure that out in just a few minutes because you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel it in the body's energy system as you begin to embrace it.
I want new knees.
I want new knees.
I must have new knees.
I must have new knees.
My knees are no good.
My knees are no good.
They do keep me moving,
They do keep me moving.
but not well enough.
But not well enough.
Not good enough. My knees are not perfect.
These are not perfect.
My knees 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 are not perfect.
Take a deep breath.
Okay, that's much better.
Okay, why don't you stand up for a moment? Let me know how they're feeling.
All the shame.
The shame.
Shame.
The shame in my body.
All the shame in my body.
I don't forgive myself.
I don't forgive myself.
Under the I refuse to forgive myself. Under the nose, it's unforgivable.
What is something that you might feel when the pain shoots up?
Anger.
Yeah, even though I'm angry at angry at me or angry at
Frustrated.
We often are ignoring those areas of our lives and our characters that need real attention. And if we ignore them long enough, they begin as a little whisper saying, hey, pay attention to me, I'm here for healing. Eventually they're saying, hey, pay attention, your body needs some work right now. If we keep on ignoring those small symptoms and small issues, eventually our body is screaming and saying, hey, pay attention to me right now, or else.
Who do you think might be represented by that pain in your back? What conflict do you think is being stored in your knee? What do you think is going on that would make your shoulder act up that way, you know, every time you have the pain?
Maybe the problem is the work that it goes into it, because it's work. It's mental, it's chilling out, it's focusing on what the issues are, it's analyzing your body. I've trained myself the last years not to think about how I'm feeling. And that's all we're doing here is how are you feeling, where, how, why. I'm just like, shut up, I just want to go to bed. I don't want to think about it.
There are many thoughts that cause tremendous emotion in us. But emotion is feeling, and it is physiological, and that's why it has great effects on our health and our physical state.
We're getting stuck as people in patterns of thought and emotion that keep us from healing.
So I think that we've got some work to do that we could do on the accident and the feelings around the accident.
And I can release the grief.
I can release the grief
from my body.
From my body.
And my mind.
And my mind.
I can release the grief.
To bring something into your energy system and the energy field, to tap on it, you simply imagine it as vividly as you can. You want to create an image of it in your mind. You want to imagine feeling it, being there. It's not very complicated. If it's something that's worrying you, you usually can imagine it pretty quickly.
A monster. I was a monster. And when I came back from Vietnam, I was waiting for that monster to erupt. And I was afraid that I couldn't control him because I knew what I could do. I knew what I was capable of doing, and that was killing people.
For many people, this may be the first time that you're honest about what you're feeling. But once you do, you'll feel it in your body.
You know, they're a son, a father, a brother,
Right.
you know.
Even though
there's
no more life in those
there's
bodies.
no more life in those bodies.
Even though my mother's anger is in my back, I deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Even though what happened 2 years ago is still showing up in my knee. And it's a wonderful way to clear that emotionally.
He did scare me.
He did scare me.
He scared me.
Whether he wanted to or not.
Whether he wanted to or not.
He scared me.
He scared
me. He scared me. That I might not walk.
That I might not walk.
I've worked so hard
I've worked very
to get
hard.
what I have.
To get what I have.
And he took it away.
Your emotional system is meant to be a guidance system to guide you in your life path, that when you're on the path, you feel good. When you're veering off, that's a feedback system to say, not such a good choice.
Whenever we have an emotion, positive or negative, it sends signals chemically to our body. So it releases this series of reactions in our vascular system, in our respiratory system, in our endocrine system. So they're always affecting us.
If you're stressing yourself with those thoughts, your body has no way of telling if there's an actual threat from out there, an objective threat, or whether this image of a threat, your boss or your wife or your child or whatever memory you have, this thing that you're generating within your own head.
When you are stressed, it puts out adrenaline, puts out cortisone, puts out blood sugar, raises the need for insulin, and so the whole body is physiologically stressed.
If something flares up, if you suddenly get, ooh, that hip pain or that head pain, we want that because that means that emotional issue is contributing to it. So like John, if you go home and suddenly you get the knee or the back, you think, oh, whoa, what's happened? Well, what are you thinking about? Okay. What's the topic of that hour? What just happened? Who just called? So it's great information. If suddenly, Dennis, you're having a craving and you think that's unusual, well, what just happened? Who'd you just run into?
So many times I was like, oh, I wish someone would just come and take some of this weight, to take some of this burden off me. And felt despair because I felt like there really wasn't anyone to come and relieve some of it.
Once you address the underlying emotional contributions, then physical changes occur.
This was a soulmate that I lost, and learning to work with that is still, like I said, a long process there.
The unconscious, it's there to protect us from any kind of pain, and it gets in the way because we can't seem to peel all the layers off that we want to peel off, and what happens is that we kind of get stuck.
I think grief is maybe the hardest thing to put into perspective for people. We've done it with accidents and trauma and all sorts of other issues. However, I think grief is a bit more complicated.
I've worked with people who had grief for family members or close people that they'd lost in accidents. And of course that's coupled with shock. That's coupled with the pain of thinking of the person being hurt.
This was Raquel's 37th birthday, if you can see that right. She put 36. She lied to me about her age. And this was back in 04. This was in Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, the Jurassic Park section of the park. This was in her old home in Tennessee back in 05. This was her at Chuck E. Cheese. This is the last Christmas, 06. Over here, we have more pictures of us at Great Adventures. This is where we were going the day she died.
I'd like you to run the event in your mind and let me know if anything kind of sticks on you, like you kind of stop there and feel some intensity.
July 31st, this year, of course, 2007. It was a beautiful sunny day. It was very hot. No, we were driving. It was just fine. The drive was just fine until we crossed the George Washington Bridge, heading over toward New Jersey. And that's when the accident took place. About 5 minutes from the bridge, we were cut off by a truck that was pulling off from his shoulder.
You just, from the time that you're riding in the car to when the truck pulls out and everything else.
What you want to do is break it down into pieces because that's how we learn and that's how it's recorded in our body. So maybe someone will say, I feel guilty. About what? I didn't put my blinker on.
What details do you remember, and make it in your mind like a movie. And run that movie in your mind and see, as you run it in your mind, see which details make you just sort of shiver and tighten up inside. You'll know.
We're driving down the highway, everything's fine. We crossed the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey. We're doing normal speed.
What you talking about?
Us driving over to Six Flags Great Adventures in my van. Everything is well. Everything seemed well, but we noticed a lot of trucks were, parked alongside the shoulder.
I've seen this movie so many times.
I've seen this movie so many times.
It was a terrible movie to begin with.
It's a terrible movie to begin with.
This is the last showing. I need to let it go.
I need to let it go.
I have my reasons.
My reasons.
What came up for you there?
A memory of her face.
Every time we want to go to a place better than where we are, there are blocks inside that have stopped us, or we'd already be there. And these blocks seem to come from where I had an experience that I didn't complete.
How much anxiety is anyone else feeling? 10, okay. You're a 9? Is it okay to continue?
I noticed that the truck was on top of us as I was switching lanes. He was switching his lane.
So picture you noticing that vehicle. All right? You're switching lanes. Switching lanes. Is there any regret about switching lanes?
I wish I never did it.
Okay. How strong does that feel? It's true, right? You
It's
wish you'd
true,
never done
I
it.
wish I'd never
But where's
done it.
is there an emotional pain around the wish that I never did it?
I feel it in my heart. I feel like you shouldn't just stood in the middle lane and, just kept going and then switched at some other stage. But
I shoulda.
I shoulda.
I shoulda. 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 Shoulda, woulda,
Shoulda,
coulda.
woulda, coulda. I feel, God, why didn't you take, you take me? She has 6 kids, for the love of Christ. 6 kids. I noticed that the truck was on top of us as I was switching lanes. He was switching his lane.
And what came out of your mouth?
Oh my God.
Did it come out that way?
No.
How strong of an oh my God?
Oh my God!
Keep tapping. What are you feeling? Anger? Oh my God. 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 Oh my God.
I have people tell me, clients of mine will say, I don't want to not miss that person. I really, this was somebody so important. I don't want to get over that. I want to honor them. And in fact, you will not get over that caring and the importance of the person at all. It doesn't erase the memory of the person.
When that happens, when those memories or those thoughts, the pieces of wisdom or insight that occur to us while we're tapping, when they rise to the surface and we become aware of them, it opens the door for healing. It opens the door for self-love, and that's the key to everything.
It calms you so you can think more clearly about your problem. It's almost like if there's a forest. You can't see the forest through the trees because there's just so many issues around something.
Well, there's a sense of excitement to uncover these things, and there's a sense of just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed because there's so many issues, and it's so hard for me to recall different things that happened when I was 10 or 5, I gotta connect here, and it's hard.
Psychologists tell us that 70% or more of our thoughts as conventional people are negative and limit our abilities and take away our powers, which essentially they do.
Most of these issues, not all of them, but most of them, and actually, almost every issue has a root somewhere in early childhood.
So if something happens with a child, that the child feels terror, that's what fear is, or neglected and abandoned, it sets a pattern.
There's so many little events that happen to kids that, we as adults hopefully wouldn't think of, but that are traumatic for a child. Every kid has the potential to do remarkable things, to be an Edison, to be a Martin Luther King Jr., to be, a Wright brother, to do all these things in all areas of life. But they're shut down from all of these little experiences that happened where they, where they're told that they weren't good enough or they just decided. How many great ideas are lost? How many advancements in humanity are lost because of things like that.
You know, I wonder, why do I always have to be perfect? Why would I do that to myself? It's a punishment, obviously.
Are you punishing yourself or protecting yourself? Perfectionism is usually about protection, but it doesn't have to be.
You know, I went right back to being a kid again when you went through that whole process. And then this has got to be going back to when I'm a child. Okay. This has to be when that starts, is when I was so young.
Tell us the incident. Okay, so she says it hasn't changed. What's going on is that she went back to a specific, only what you feel comfortable talking about, but an incident where you learned, oh, I gotta be perfect or else look what could happen. There's some important incidents that's driving this. And there could be 50 incidents, but there's one that you could think of and bring up and talk about only what you feel comfortable talking about that would drive this.
It has to do with trying to be seen by my father and remembering he'd go away for weeks at a time because he was a salesman. And then when he came home, we'd all get excited and run out there, you know, because we wanted to see him. And he would just ignore me, but he would go get my sister and pick her up. Okay. And I would just sit there going, why not me?
Okay. How intense?
That's intense.
Okay. What is it? Hurt? Sadness?
Hurt.
Okay.
Kids are really, 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 really open. You know, when they're really young, they don't know anything but what you teach them.
Our first 6 years, we're not actually engaging in consciousness, we're just downloading experiences. Well, these experiences, then we play them back as our life characters and our life behaviors. Yeah, but you downloaded them from other people, so that you download your parents' behaviors, and they become your behaviors.
Jackie, what's going on just as we're doing all that tapping about family stuff?
A lot of family stuff coming up, and kind of goes to I have to be perfect, or you know they'll get mad at me because I mean there's probably so many times I don't remember, but one particular time, because there was 6 girls and 3 boys, I was the second youngest, and my dad used to always beat the older boys.
Okay. Tap on your collarbone right now. Okay.
Which I obviously must have witnessed.
Yes. And how do you feel when you're telling us that? Just say one more sentence about it, or a little bit more about it. Or just go to the eyebrow. He beat my brothers.
He beat my brothers.
Side of the eye, and I couldn't stop him. Under the eye, he beat my brothers.
He beat my brothers.
Under the nose, and obviously I witnessed it.
Obviously I witnessed it.
He beat my brothers.
He beat my brothers.
No wonder I don't want anyone mad at me.
No wonder I don't want anyone mad at me.
I certainly don't want my father mad at me.
I certainly didn't want him mad at me.
If something comes up that you don't want to say out loud, or you don't want to own, or you don't want to say you accept about yourself, that's the very thing you want to tap about, because that's the good news is that's leading you right to why you're stuck. It's shining a light on the place that needs your love and your compassion and your self-acceptance more than anything else. And the quicker you can get there and give yourself that, the quicker you're going to dissolve that block and get on with your life.
The subconscious has programs in it that we primarily got from other people in our development. And the significance about that is that if we are operating from this subconscious mind and not seeing it, then we're also not seeing that we're playing programs that may not be in any way supporting who we are and what we want.
Most of us have core issues around powerlessness and worthlessness. That's it. 2 things. I'm powerless and I'm worthless. We picked that up at some level to some degree in our childhood.
No wonder I try to be perfect.
No wonder I try to be perfect.
Eyebrow, he beat my brothers.
He beat my brothers.
And I watched.
And I watched.
And I heard.
And I heard.
And I felt it.
And I felt it.
He beat my brothers.
He beat my brothers.
No wonder I've been trying to be perfect.
No wonder I've been trying to be perfect.
I think if you're perfect, you won't be beaten.
I think if you're perfect, you won't be beaten.
In the midst of all this, I went to the bathroom. For my whole life, since I've been potty trained, I thought it was normal to hold it forever. In grade school, I had to raise my hand to go to the bathroom. And if the teacher was involved with something that was important to her or him, whoever the teacher was, they would just ignore my hand. And I remember wetting myself in like the 3rd or 4th grade because I just couldn't hold it any longer, but I didn't get permission to go. And that has stayed with me since then.
I'll often say to people, you know, well, as we're tapping through around, you know, you're living your life based on the decision of a kindergartner. How often do you now go down to the local school and go to the kindergarten class and ask kids for their advice on your major life decisions, you know? Hey, what's your name, Stevie? Yeah, look, I'm thinking of buying a couple of houses. Here are the different houses I'm looking at. You know, what do you think? You know, they say, well, that would be crazy. It's like, well, you're doing it though. You're asking a kindergartner for advice in everything you do. You know, should I ask my boss for a raise? No, don't do that. The teacher will get mad. Okay.
We learn our behaviors and learn about interpersonal interaction from our parents and how their relationship is, how they treat our siblings, whether we have siblings. That's where we learn everything, is really what do people say to each other? How do they respond after an argument? What do they do when there's tension? And kids pick all that up. They know when there's tension in the room.
You know what a razor strap is? It's a piece of leather that the old barbers used to sharpen their straight edge razors.
Yeah.
And so when I wouldn't do something my father wanted me to do, he'd get the razor strap out and just whip me. And it seemed like every day, and I don't know if it was every day, but it was several times a week.
Why am I carrying this?
Why am I carrying this?
Why am I carrying this sadness?
Why am I carrying this sadness?
Why can't I bring it down to a 0?
Why can't I bring it down to a 0?
What happened? Why did you say that?
Now I just understood why I'm feeling so sad.
Why?
Because if this hadn't happened, maybe my relationship with my father could have been much better.
Stay tuned into that. This relationship.
What's really important is to be willing to work to get to the root cause of what's going on. And that generally comes up as a thought, you know, a memory, an idea, an image, or, you know, something that's generated from within.
Get together with a group of friends and brainstorm what are the things your parents said to you growing up that you think are still limiting you. If you get 5 or 6 people together and do that, and people start thinking things like, well, eat all the food on your plate, the kids in China are starving, and then you go, today if I go to a salad bar and I take a lot of food, even if I'm full, I keep eating it because I don't want the children in China to starve, you know, whatever. So that brainstorming technique, you can come out with a lot of things, you know, children should be seen and not heard, you'll never amount to anything, you know, your father was a drunk, so you'll be a drunk too, and you know, no women in this family have ever gone to college, and what makes you think you can, and you've got to hide your feelings, and don't air your dirty laundry in public. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff we got.
To give you like an amusing anecdote about it, is you know somebody and you know their parent, and you realize that this person and their parent pretty much have the same behavior. And so you, in enthusiasm, you burst on the scene and you say, you know, Mary, you're just like your mom. As soon as you say that to Mary, back away from Mary. Why? Because she's not going to take this in welcoming news for her. She's going to say, like, how can you say that? To her, she's not like her mom at all. And the issue is interesting. Is like the joke is, everybody else can see that Mary's like her mom, but Mary can't. Why not? The answer is, because when she's playing the programs which she got from her mother, which are in her subconscious, she's playing them because she's not paying attention, and so when they play, she doesn't see them, so she's surprised when people say that she behaves like her mom, even though that's what her life is all about.
When you're feeling bad, look at what thoughts you're thinking. And then if they're limiting beliefs that have been habitual, because a belief is just a thought you think over and over and over.
Well, I feel that he power trips over me, and I feel like he's always blaming me for something, making me feel inadequate.
I just can't possibly do it. Other people can plan their week. I just can't seem to plan my week. Things always come up, and I just can't even get it on paper.
I don't feel like I should have a happy family. That's
Got that?
my family, because I
Got
destroyed
that?
all these other families.
What I found is when you state the limiting belief, like I'm not good enough, I'm afraid, I don't know where money's going to come from, I don't know if my business is going to succeed. I mean, there's all kind of beliefs that are unique to the person. When you state that, you're not anchoring the belief, you are releasing the belief.
When I said self-blame or I blame myself, did that resonate with you?
Oh, I blame myself for everything, so
Okay,
yes.
so yes again, okay? Say out loud, it's my fault.
It's my fault.
It's all my fault.
It's all my fault.
They wouldn't help me.
They blame me for the accident.
And I'm angry about it.
I'm very angry about it. It's not fair.
Under the nose, haven't I suffered enough?
Haven't I suffered enough?
99% of the time, When people name the issue accurately and are allowed to finally say, I'm resentful, or I'm so profoundly hurt, or the betrayal, I thought the betrayal was going to kill me. When they say it out loud, they might cry, but they are completely relieved. Say out loud, I chose a lousy partner.
I chose a lousy partner.
How true is that?
He's still a lousy person.
I'm afraid to get better.
I'm afraid to get better.
Because it's going to threaten my brother.
He is going to threaten my brother.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels that. Very probable.
Very probable. Okay. So there is a possibility you could be holding on to the symptoms so that he doesn't get upset.
Or threatened.
The challenge with helping somebody to get past a belief like that is showing them, first of all, that look, it is just a belief. Would you entertain the idea of changing it?
We're always going to have problems. This is the nature of the human experience. What you do about them, however, is up to you.
What are the obstacles? What are the traumas? What are the moments in time where you formed a belief about something that keeps you stuck, and really working through those and working through the different levels as well.
Even though I feel guilty.
Because I chose such a lousy partner.
Because I chose such a lousy partner.
Even though my brother tells me I'm not good enough.
Even though my brother tells me that I'm not good enough.
And I keep trying to fight that.
And I keep trying to fight that.
It's not true.
It's not true.
There is something else going on. I mean, there's an invisible part of all of this. It's such an experiential thing. You can talk about it all day, but until a person experiences what it feels like for that resistance to melt away, I mean, it's all just theoretical. You have to walk them through it.
I remember doing a seminar for a Benedictine abbey down in Florida. And many of the monks there were there out of guilt, not out of a desire to be closer to God. One guy had taken an entire troop up the Rhine River during World War II. Everyone was killed but him, and he was the leader. So he came back, went on about a 3-week drunk, and then basically joined the monastery. And I said, so why did you join? He said, because I didn't believe I deserved to have any more pleasure in my life. I did to kind of abrogate that. And so this sense of unworthiness is a big issue for people.
Say out loud. Now I'm just testing him, right? I don't deserve to have a happy family.
I don't deserve to have a happy family.
How true does that feel, 0 to 10?
It's way down, way down.
Could you give it a number?
2.
2. From a 10 to a 2, if your vibration is I don't deserve to have a happy family and it's as high as a 10, when it goes down to a 2, your vibration is different, your behavior is different, how you talk to people, how you stand, your posture, everything will be different if your vibration changes that much.
There's a beautiful word dealing with beliefs called praxis, P-R-A-X-I-S. It's an excellent word. Praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. You'll often hear people say, I believe that I can do a lot better than I'm doing, but they don't do it. Why? They believe it intellectually, but their paradigm doesn't believe it. They're saying, I believe I could multiply my income, but their paradigm is saying, you just never have enough money. So you see, we have beliefs on a conscious level, and they're beliefs we normally discuss in social situation, in conversation. But if you watch the person that's saying that they believe this, they believe that, watch their behavior and their results would indicate they've never heard of it.
Positive thinking is a creative thought that comes from the conscious mind. Okay, so if I have a thought for being healthy or being in a good relationship, and I'm doing positive thinking, and at the same time, I have acquired programs in my development that said, you're not as healthy as you think you are, and you're not that good a person to have those kind of relationships. Then look, I'm now pitting my positive thoughts against my programs, and they're opposite.
What you fight against gets stronger. It doesn't get weaker. What you resist persists, as the old saying goes. So when you are fighting against negatives, you're strengthening them, you're thinking of them.
You're saying all this negative stuff, but tacking on the points, and the only thing I can think of is you're releasing that problem by addressing it. Is that?
Well, that's it, and that's come up a lot. It's like, well, I'm trying to be positive, so I don't want to speak the negative.
So I'm sure you've heard of the technique of writing an enormous check to yourself. So let's say you write a check out for $1 million. That's not enough for law of attraction. What I want you to do is look at the check written out to you, look at the amount and hold it. How does it feel? And if you have any anxiety or any emotional blocks to holding that check that's written out to you for $1 million, that's going to get in your way.
I need to let go of whatever it is, release literally what I've been holding on to. and let it go so that I have a capacity to receive that which is wanting to come into my life, that which I preferred and desired and intended and set goals around and so forth.
You have to work hard to have enough money.
I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be without money. I went through the last 5 years being very broke, having to declare bankruptcy in 2001.
Poor me.
Poor me.
Poor me. And I'm poor. You know, I mean, financially, I don't have what I really want.
If you want to know what you believe about money, just look at your money status. What's happening with your money?
People think they're focused on something positive, and they're not. So they think they're focused on, I want more money, why aren't I getting it? They're actually quite worried about scarcity and not being able to pay their bills.
The way to earn money is out there. The information is out there. I mean, we're in an office here surrounded by information. There's no shortage of that. The only thing that interrupts that flow is you and your beliefs. And the tapping helps erase the negative limiting beliefs.
Even though I went bankrupt?
Even though I went bankrupt.
And I think it's disgusting.
I think it's disgusting.
I deeply and profoundly.
I deeply and profoundly.
Accept myself anyway.
Accept myself anyway.
I keep trying to be safe all the time. I won't take chances. I won't take risks. I don't push myself to do what I know I can do because it might not be safe.
Remember what she told us earlier? Yeah. Might not be totally safe. So then you protect yourself. You live a very safe, quiet, small life.
The more we work on keeping ourselves balanced energetically using these kinds of tools, the more attractive we become. And I'm not talking about physical beauty necessarily, although I'm sure that's part of it as well, but I'm talking about energetically. As we start to put our energy, the energy body into balance, we naturally begin to allow wonderful things to come into our life. We start attracting wonderful things into our life.
And through repetition of repeating them and writing them and energizing them, emotionalizing them, we're going to find that pretty soon the new belief that we only have an unconscious level will start to take root, and the old one's going to die for a lack of nourishment. And what happens? The joints loosen up. The bank account grows. We have healthy relationships, healthy bank accounts, healthy body. Why? Because now we're in tune, we're in harmony, we're congruent. Most people are not congruent. The beliefs they have that they talk about, they don't have on a subconscious level.
Oh, he's moving. I'm a little,
You get a little jumpy?
I'm a
Steve?
little jumpy.
Okay.
Cool.
Put your hand kind of under him and he'll wrap around you. He's gonna wrap. He likes to be warm.
Well, I'm
so.
not too sure about that.
Me neither.
All of us as human beings get scared, we get anxious, especially in this day and age when many of us are so overwhelmed and stressed out. We have fears about things, certain phobias about things. Lots of people are afraid to speak in public, or they're afraid to fly, or they have phobias about snakes or animals or something like that. I mean, we all have something that we tend to be afraid of or to feel anxious about.
I just feel really tense right now.
Where do you feel it?
All over.
And John, even though the snake's gonna wrap around my arm,
The snake's gonna wrap around there.
I'm surprisingly calm about that.
Surprisingly calm about that.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
I'm hovering about a 7. Yeah.
Even though.
Even though.
I'm hovering at a 7.
Hovering at a 7.
And I was always told snakes are icky.
And I was always told snakes were icky.
There are only 2 known fears that are thought to be inherent in everybody: falling and loud noises. Those are natural fears. Other fears are conditioned by our parents and, of course, our environment in general, but particularly by our parents.
It's the meaning we attach to it that really creates the distress or the discomfort.
See the tongue?
Yeah. I'm starting to feel. How you doing?
Yeah. Did the tongue get you?
No, he's just moving. The snake. Do you want to pick him up? Huh?
I'm just kidding.
I would like to pass me the jacket.
I think maybe she needs to tap for a few more minutes.
I choose to find myself.
I choose to find myself
Surprisingly calm and confident.
surprisingly calm and confident and open
To a new experience.
to a new experience.
I'm safe. It's okay, buddy.
Appreciate
it. We're just getting used to each other. You're really not that bad.
Here's the deal. You are unconsciously focusing on your fear all the time. It's your subconscious that needs to get reprogrammed in a sense. And so by focusing on it for a little bit of time, we can get rid of it so it's not unconsciously running you.
I'm actually incredibly amazed that this snake is in my hands right now. And he's actually not that bad. He's kind of cute.
I kept getting feedback from my clients saying that it worked on them over and over again. So they'd come in week after week and say, you know, that strange tapping thing we did last week, I'm better.
I came here with two major issues, I think. My back pain, and PTSD from Vietnam. And I've woken up 2 mornings in a row now with no back pain, and that hasn't happened since 1974.
It was really quite astounding to see just, in many cases, nearly instant transformations in many of their health problems.
As the days went on, I found not just my knees releasing pain, but I just have completely, fully relaxed all over my whole body. I don't feel the muscle tension. Have not had any problems with my knees since I've been here. Been going up and down stairs daily, going for walks, no problems. I am sleeping through the night much, much better than I was.
Does it really work? What I saw happen before my eyes could not possibly have happened.
I've never laughed so much, cried so much.
This entire thing has been a transformation. Started out as a caterpillar, went through the whole cocoon, and I'm emerging the butterfly.
Renee, it was amazing to see how Renee, from one accident, I think even a lot of his grief is not even just from the accident, it is, but a lot of it is from past things in his life as well that caused him to have a harder time with the accident.
He's come a long way, hasn't he? Isn't it amazing? I can't even imagine that he came here and did that in that short of a time. I was like,
Feels good. Feels real good. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
I think this is one of the greatest gifts from the whole tapping movement, is that you end up at a place of a natural movement in your life.
3 months after I had taken my first tapping class, I noticed that my long-term insomnia had gone away.
Sleeping. I really struggled with that. In the back of my mind, I came knowing I live 45 minutes away. I can always drive home and sleep and drive back again. So that was in my back pocket the whole time. And the first night I actually fell asleep, slept through the night without waking up, and woke up feeling better than I have in a very long time. And it was very surprising to me.
You know, I tend to define miracle as something that is really, really good that we can't explain. And a lot of what we see would fall into that category.
I don't think there was one person here that didn't surprise me of the things that happened to everybody.
I absolutely feel that my relationship is going to change, and it's all good. I don't feel this fear. I think I've overcome a huge fear.
Anything you encounter that looks like an obstacle on the other side of that hill or mountain is the greatest opportunity of your life.
The proof is in the pudding. I mean, if you calibrate that your fear on a scale of 1 to 10 is 9, and then after doing the sequence a few times, it's like 1, and then you say, okay, so come on up to the front of the room and turn around and face the audience, and before they would have been shaking and now they're relaxed. That's all the explanation you need.
It's like, where does this come from? It's just, you're tapping on somebody else's and it just whoosh,
these things come up, and it is so relieving, refreshing to just let them go, because they're there, they're buried, you don't even know they're there.
Everyone's issues I can kind of resonate with, so. I just wish I understood how you can tap on someone else's issues and it can help you, but I'm not going to get hung up about that. It works, and that's good for me. That's good enough for me, so.
I'm humbled every day I go to work. The results are humbling. It's hard to describe the help that people are getting. Lifelong ailments gone. It's absolutely amazing.
What's your physical sensation of your back been like? I know when we talked at your home, you really felt the rods and the screws in there all the time.
It was a constant heavy presence, and now it's not heavy. I'll stop at the end of the day and I'll think, I haven't thought of my back, except when we're in a session and they're asking me to speak about it and go there and think about it. And it felt wonderful immediately afterwards. I mean, that was the benefit of getting through that, to have this awesome outcome. The pain's not an issue. The pain isn't requiring 99.5% of my time now, and that's very exciting.
We need to learn that these things are real, and they're powerful, and they can heal.
That's my kind of surprise. And when I first saw the cakes, my first response was, oh, how beautiful they are, how they were each decorated, and I did not have the feeling like, oh, wow, can't wait to dive in. It's a delight to see them, but I don't feel like, oh, wow, I'm going to eat each and every one. Because that was an issue with me. If I had any emotion at all, good or bad, I felt like, oh, I have to eat something. They somehow got connected. So I feel like we've broken that connection. So I can feel something and then realize I want to put something in my mouth.
Many emotions are quieted through food. And the food is used so quickly to stop the emotion, you hardly know you have the emotion. You just grab for the food instead.
What do you think the extra food is doing for you? Because your body doesn't need it as far as hunger goes. So what are you trying to do with it? What do you think food is providing for you that you're not getting in your life? Sometimes I'll say to people, what's missing? What's missing that you would now be 50 pounds overweight and using food chronically, all day long for 30 years? What's going on? And often they'll say, loneliness. Often they'll say there's an emptiness inside. Sometimes they'll say, my whole family is this way. I learned how to use food as a way to entertain myself, be less bored, be excited, have fun, be engaged, be disengaged. It's so often, you can't be enraged when you're eating a pie. You can't do both at the same time. You can't be deep into grief when you're eating a carton of ice cream.
Even though I want the second piece of cheesecake right now, or I want to go eat all of the carrot cake right now, I deeply love and accept and forgive myself, and going through the whole tapping mechanism to bring myself to a state of peace.
I think that I can just keep on tapping and keep implementing this in my life and spend time every day for me and not try to please everybody else all the time. I saw some movement, I saw it get worse, I saw it get better a little bit, and I think I'm leaving a little better, a little less pain. Probably one of the biggest things that I learned this 4 days was by tapping and by going through these exercises was trying to figure out who I really am deep down inside, not just who people think I am or what is in my mind, and make decisions from my heart and my intuition rather than from my head.
Keep tapping. It works. It's the tapping that works. A lot of times people worry about, am I saying the right thing, or am I focused on the right thing? If you're focused on something that's bothering you and you're tapping on it, it's going to work.
I think the emotional part of my smoking, I believe that's gone. But the addiction to the nicotine is still there. But I think with cutting down now and controlling the emotional part of it is gonna help me quit.
The cravings went down, so he knew immediately it would work on the craving. The issue for him was, what was he going to do instead?
It's not just about the craving, because we can crave anything, we don't have to act out on it. It's all the things that are causing the craving. Addiction is the reason why people use a substance, alcohol, drugs, or whatever, is because it works. If it didn't work, they wouldn't be using it.
Not only have I been just stuck with these addictions, I also have been living with just this horrible fear and so many scars that have just caused me to act out so much ever since. I was raped when I was younger, hurt my family and hurt myself, and I've had nightmares, honestly, every single night, to the point where my husband doesn't sleep in the same bed as me anymore because I scare him, because I shake at night, or I start crying, or I scream in my dreams. This weekend is the first 3 days, 3 nights that I haven't had nightmares.
Everybody. I think this was a life-changing experience for everybody that attended here. And maybe for the people that watched.
I think we're all looking for something to help us feel better, but in a real way. This isn't just taking a pill. This is something, we're engaged, we're involved in this process.
When you're talking about people with post-traumatic stress syndrome and just really intense things or years of addictions, and they've tried everything, to get rid of it, and they do this process, and in a couple of days or whatever, it's, they have a dramatic shift. I mean, there's something going on there.
I consider it the people's method. It's there for all of us, and literally at our fingertips.
I just wish I'd learned this 30 years ago, 39 years ago. But I'm just thankful I learned it now.
It's wonderful for nightmares and anxiety that kids have going to school.
Kids are making up their mind. We've got to change ours. It's a lot easier to make up your mind than it is to change it.
So to be able to have the resources where kids are able to clear out those kind of traumas that day, right within a few hours, so it doesn't even affect the rest of their day, much less the rest of their life.
I certainly hope that it'll be used in schools with children. I think that that's a really wonderful, there's such a wonderful opportunity there.
And what that person is going to go on and achieve in life, because they're going to share their gifts and talents, because they're not feeling blocked by the fact that they were laughed at from some simple little event that happens, all the time.
Because that's where things start, right? Something happens in school and it upsets them, and they decide that the older kids are always bad because of one thing that happened with a bully in 8th grade. And if we could just collapse those conflicts and those events at the end of every day or the end of every week, those children would grow up with more confidence, less insecurity, less vulnerability to being hurt by other people.
I believe that every person is born as a cell in this human body. And if we all achieve our full potential, I might be a liver cell and you're a kidney cell and someone's an eyeball cell and someone else is a lung cell. And if all the cells are doing what they're supposed to do, then the whole world works. Problem is when we try to be what we're not, or try to deny what we really truly feel and want to do, that then we get like cancer cells in the body that are not aligned with what the rest of the purpose of the body is.
Our beliefs of competition and warfare and struggle and survival completely miss the point. It's really based on loving, harmony, thriving, community, cooperation. These are the words of life.
If I'm going around and I'm at peace, I'm naturally going to be nicer to other people. And if I'm being nicer to other people, then hopefully they're going to pick up on that and they'll be nicer to other people, and suddenly you've got this chain reaction.
It could transform the entire culture because they'll have the tool, they'll be using it, and then you'll be preventing future illness. It's the ultimate prevention.
It's spreading so fast. I think this will be standard, kind of like, if you get the hiccups and someone goes boo, because if you scare yourself, your hiccups go away. I think it's going to be as common knowledge as that.
I think there's a spiritual transition taking place in the world. People are starting to understand spirit. People are starting to understand energy. People are starting to understand themselves as an energy field and the fact that they can work with it to get the results they want. There are critics, and there's quite a few, but they're changing very fast.
If you don't know about these processes, these mechanisms, we're ignorant of these facts, and then things happen to us, of course we don't know what's going on, and what can I do about it? Nobody told me. But once you know, then you can't go back and do that anymore. You can say, okay, history, everything that happened to me up to this point, I was oblivious to, I was ignorant of, I don't know. But from this point forwards, I'm going to take control. Now I own my life.
And here's the man right here. He did such an awesome job.
Hey, buddy.
Absolutely. Oh,
Jackie and I met up at the airport to fly in last night, and she said to me, are you wearing, a brace or a support thing? And I thought in my mind, why would I? I did. I was kind of like, why would she ask that?
Wow.
But I guess she didn't realize that literally since that weekend, and I don't know which day, it was interesting hearing you all say like on the second day and on the first, because in a way that whole weekend was a blur,
Yes.
but a good blur, not So I don't know exactly when it happened, but I just have never had that back pain since. So when I would travel and fly, I would always have to wear some sort of a brace or have all my patches, medicines, you name it, you know, John. And I don't have any of that for this. I think I have one little thing, but yeah, I don't wear any sort of those things. And Jackie was like, "You want me to take your bag?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm okay, I am."
It's changed my whole life.
Yeah.
It's changed my whole life. And I see it in the rest of us too. I can work without hurting. That's the thing, I can do it without hurting. I could never sit on the floor. I could sit on the floor. It was difficult to get down there, but I could never get back up. It was very, very difficult to get back up. The last day I come in and all the chairs were taken and the only place to sit was on the floor. I said, well, let's try this, I was on that floor until late that night.
I kept waiting, thinking, knee pain went away, it's coming back.
Yeah.
It's coming back. Well, guess what? Never a twinge, nothing. Nothing came back. So that was an absolute proof to me. And then I went for walks and stuff too. But no pain whatsoever.
It's hard to put into words how the feeling is after so many years being in so much pain and then not having it anymore.
That whole weekend, nothing. And it's been 6 months, it's not coming back. It's gone. It's completely gone. I don't expect that to ever return.
For so long, I kind of felt like I was on the outside looking in. And now I feel like I belong. And it's just a shift in consciousness, but it's a huge one for me because it's just a different feeling. I feel like I belong here, whereas before, like in other settings, I would just feel like an outsider, so.
Sometimes I find it not hard but challenging when you're in the cancer center getting back in treatments again, and I'm there almost every day for this first month of my clinical trial I'm on, and you're just surrounded with not sick people but basically chronically ill people, and you can't help but go there, and sometimes just having that tool that you can sit there in your chair quietly tapping away and just working through whether the emotion's fear or anxiety or unknown, you're not sure what's happening in the future.
I don't have a sweets craving. I don't eat cake and pies like I used to. And I didn't even realize, and I shared this also, I hadn't even realized that I go into Dunkin' Donuts almost every day and I never buy a donut. And I said, I have to really assess what's going on here, because I keep saying, well, I'm not tapping regularly, I'm not tapping daily, and I'm not getting the effects. But I do tap irregularly, and I do tap occasionally, and I do tap and grab moments.
Went from a 38 to a 36 again, so I'm looking to get back to a 34. Actually, I was a 40. And I was a 40. I went from a 40 to a 36, so I'm back to my original 36 in 3 months. But the whole thing about the whole weekend, that I was able to say conquer, was not to play back that horrific day all the time, because that was driving me nuts. And being able to live with some pain, because I live with pain. I mean, as I speak to you now, I still feel a little, very little pain that I know that Raquel's not with me. but I know she is. Somehow she is.
I just like one thing my daughter said to my wife. She says, "Who is this man? I don't know him." But she says, "I like it, but I want to keep him." That was a big thing for me, you know. So there was a lot of things during that 4 days